money. And I thought I wanted to invest in some real estate with Bill, and since he did that, and with the carpeting down and all, that would be a smart investment. He didn't know that I was a big sports fan at the time, and I happened to mention Oklahoma to him, and I told him that I had once dated Joe Don Looney of the Baltimore Colts. And for those of you that are too young or aren't a football fan, the Indianapolis Colts existed way after the Baltimore Colts. Bill was so impressed that I dated someone from Oklahoma. So our friendship became gold. Next time in my bathrobe, I said, have you found an investment for us? And he said, yes, I have. So off we went and looked at a couple of houses. And then I had an epiphany, because I had one child and Janet and Bill had two. I said, you know, I'm seriously thinking of talking my then husband into having another baby. And he said, what? And I said, yes, I'm thinking about it. Well, I pulled back the money on going and investing with Bill, and I had David. And years later, we moved out here to Westlake, as the Johnsons had. I got a call on my answering machine, because David, who was the shortest of three sons, 6'4", 6'1", 5'9" and a half and 3/4, was drafted by the Houston Texans in the 7th round, played 6 years in the NFL. And Bill left one of his typical messages. You know what? That kid would have a lot longer career if he played golf.
Anybody else? Please feel free.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have known Bill Johnson for over 40 years. I'm in my 74th year in the floor covering business, and nobody, with all the accolades they've given him, talk about their personal life. Let me tell you something about Bill Johnson, the merchant. I have seen probably in Bobby Grennan and some of the gentlemen that are here, Andy Capitz, Ramirez, some of the salespeople that work with Bill, will tell you that there is about 40, 50 carpet companies, hardware, Gee, Persuade, but regardless of what it is, they have gone out of business. So have many of the people that fortunately passed away since this November 9th of this year will be the completion of my 50th year in business. And I have to tell you, of all the times I worked, all the mills that went in business, I met a gentleman from Coronet Carpets that happened to be one of the companies that I wanted to do business with. The gentleman running the place was called CW, or Bill Johnson. From that time, from the day I met him, I have to tell you, I have never met, and you know, our business is a little bit shady. I tell you, the floor covering business can be great, and if you have honor, it can be great. Look what he built, I can't tell you, I don't even guess how many people's homes he's done. But I have to tell you this, whatever he did with a full heart, and with the most honorable person that I've ever met in my life. He helped me when I needed it. If he needed, I'm pretty much a fairly good expert on wood floors, so I would help him, he would help me, he would get, it never, we needed a contract, we didn't need money, we just told each other what to do. Like in the old days, you didn't need a contract to do something's home. You just said you would do it, and by the time the job wasn't even done, they'd come in to pay. That's how business used to be run, with honor. You know, if there was a Jewish thesaurus, I happen to be Jewish. If there was a Jewish thesaurus and you look up the word mensch, under that word you would find the name C.W. Bill Johnson. And in my whole life, I don't think there's 4 other people, and I've made a lot of money. I've done very well, thank God, like Bill. My word is my bond. And I have to tell you this, he also is one of the greatest people I've ever met. And you know what? We all love him for who he was. Not what he had, not what he did. He's a pretty fair golfer too. But he liked to see that. I'm a Bruin, so but I have to tell you that he is a wonderful, was a wonderful, and he will be in my heart my whole life. Thank you, and love him like I do.
Oh, God, by the time I get there, they'll be there.
Is this on? Can you hear me okay? Yep. I'm a friend of 45 years to Janet. I don't think there's a nicer person in the world. She's awesome. I remember the day Charlie was born. I remember my knees giving out because he was hooked up to all these wires, and we were so relieved when they were gone. And I think Bill was one of the kindest, biggest-hearted people that I ever knew. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Aria Johnson. My bunkmate, my roommate, OCS through Officer Basic School was C.W. Johnson. And I have a lot of stories, but I don't think I can tell all of them in this room. But as far as I'm cutting down the Christmas tree, one morning we all fell out to run the obstacle course, and there was 8 foot of our obstacle course rope missing. And as you remember, C.W. had a 1954 4-door sedan, because he was driving up to Washington, D.C. to take ladies in, and the back doors didn't lock. So he tied them together with our obstacle course rope. The other thing about C.W. is that when we went to Vietnam, I don't know if all you know it, but he got medevaced out with malaria. He ended up on the USS Hope. And I got a letter from him. I was down in an area outside of Da Nang, and I get this letter, nice little postcard saying, "Hi, I'm on a cruise." A year and a half later, I'm in San Diego, and I'm attending a celebrity type banquet. And I have this Navy nurse sitting across from me. She's a captain. She got 2 other nurses. And my first sergeant sitting with me. And he was the master of ceremonies and the general reason for them all to be there. And the nurses kept asking, "You know C.W.? You know C.W.?" I said, "Were you on the USS Hope?" And they go, "Yeah, how'd you know?" So we used to laugh about it. I sent out a thing to our classmates. We have a reunion every 4 years. C.W. is part of that reunion for the Marine Corps officer class that we graduated from. And Daryl Paulmanner, who's a major developer down in Miami, wrote back and said, "C.W., I remember C.W. He's the one that screwed up Quantico one day. The whole base was almost in shutdown because we were graduating. And he invited Nixon's daughter to be his what do you want to call it, guest of honor for him to attend the base, attend our graduation." And, you know, C.W. had the biggest brains. He pulled off the funniest things. Thing is, we really did have a problem on the base because we had Nixon's daughter show up. So, C.W. is a great guy. I kept in contact with him over the years. Janet, when he met you, you know, all those guys were hanging around MCRD on Friday nights. And he said, "I think I found the one." And he really did.
That's all right. Yeah, beat them.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to be one of the few people that hold the mic close enough to their mouth so you can hear, because I haven't heard most of what's going on. So. I had a couple of stories. First of all, the Johnson family is like the first family in North Ranch. I'll try not to lose it, but it's too late already. So I've got a whole bunch of letters from CW, and they always come exactly one day after the fax that comes telling me that Charlie did really well in an event, Janet and Sandy Peregrine happened to win the BFE New West Desert Classic Flight 12, whatever it happened to be. He could not have been more proud of his family at all times. He was the tournament chairman for the Southwestern, and he was hugely proud of North Ranch Country Club. And I'll tell you one really quick story about that. for several years in a row, after Tiger Woods won the Southwestern here, shooting even par for 54 holes, the story would go like this. He would have maybe 1, 2, even 6 or 7 stingers at the award ceremony, and he would go up and talk to the kids, and he'd go, I don't know if you kids know this, but this kid out on tour, a little guy named Eldrick Tiger Woods, some of you might have heard of him. So well, he came here, and he played 54 holes, and shot even par, and 13 months later, he goes to some golf course called Augusta, and he shoots 18 under par. You tell me which course is harder. And that was, what, 5, 6 years in a row minimum?
You figure it out.
You figure it out, exactly. Another, and a lot of people have talked about his organizational skills, and Charlie and I, well, Charlie is his organizational skills now, just reborn. What time did you get here for the 3 o'clock event? 12:45. Just to make sure. But C-Dub, when he passed off the reins for the Southwestern, when he finally retired as the tournament chairman, he gave that duty to me. And the difference was I got to use electronic stuff, and he did everything by hand. But he had a checklist, so at 3 months out, you had to have already called everyone for the trophies. 2 months out, you had to call everyone for the prizes. And it was fairly extensive, as you might guess. And for 6 consecutive years, at 3 months out, I would get the phone call, hey kid, did you order the trophies yet? Yes, I did. You told me how to do that 3 months out. And about a month later, hey kid, did you get all the prizes yet? Yeah, yes, I did. That's 2 months out. I know, trust me. He goes, oh, did you get the scorecards yet? I go, yes, I did. So I finally turned the tables on him. I told him that in order for me to continue to do all that he would have to name the trophy, or I actually named it for him, but the individual champion is now the C.W. Johnson individual champion for the Southwestern Intercollegiate. And the first year that he had to get those trophies, I told him that he had to get that on the individual championship trophy. And he shows up with all the trophies with like 2 weeks to go. And he used to love buying the trophies because he could go get great deals downtown somewhere. And he knew the guy that could engrave them for like $0.25 cent per letter. And so he comes back and they're all perfectly etched except for the individual one just says it's the individual champion. And I said, Dub, we got a problem. I can't pay for the trophies. He goes, what do you mean? I goes, I told you, if it doesn't say C.W. Johnson Memorial Champion, I'm not paying for the trophies. He goes, you're kidding me. I go, nope. 3 days later, it said C.W. Johnson Memorial Champion. So that's the levity I could throw to it. I know we're all going to miss him dramatically, especially here on the property, and it's so nice. As we were watching everyone come in, it literally looks like every member from 1980 on is here to celebrate his life. So God bless the Johnson family, the Beat family.
This is going to be a quick story. I've been a member here 14 years. When I first joined the club, I ended up in the partner match play finals, and Rick was involved in this thing, and which is kind of odd. I didn't know a lot of people at the time, and so we get into the finals. Me and my partner was someone who also joined at the same time as me, so we didn't know a lot of people. And so we get to the finals. If you know about the partner match play, you have to schedule these things. And when you've got 2 people that need to be able to, be available, it makes it more difficult. So we get to the finals and people say, well, CW needs to have his pacemaker put in. He's not going to be able to play. But you need to wait because you're going to have to play Rick by yourself. Because Rick and CW are the partners. And they says, well, you're going to have to wait for CW to be available. And I go, why? Well, because he wants to drive around in a car. And, watch. So anyway, so we did it. And so I'm thinking, okay, we got 2 against 1. But of course the one was Rick. And we ended up losing in 19 holes. Rick beat us by himself. However, CW was such an intimidating force on this golf course, driving around, keeping the score, watching everything. And Rick, that was impressive, you beat the two of us, but if it wasn't for CW, maybe not.
Hi, my name is Doug Goodall, and I met Bill back about 1973. I was in the carpet business. I worked for a competitor, and one day in Fresno, he walked into this store and he said, "I don't know anything about carpet, but I'm a carpet salesman." And as it turned out, he certainly was. He was probably one of the best at anything I've ever seen anybody do. And what's funny is after that meeting, about a month later, I got a phone call from him, and he said, "Hey, are you interested in going to work for Cornett Carpet Mills?" So not only was that a good meeting, but I ended up working with Bill. So I've been friends with him for over 40 years. And of course, our families became very close friends, and we went on many, many golf vacations with the Johnsons. And I just have a real quick funny story that once we were in Puerto Vallarta, and Bill says, "Listen, back in the 70s, they didn't have any golf courses in Puerto Vallarta." So he said, "I found a golf course, and it's about 60 miles away. We'll rent a car. I made a tee time, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll run over there, do 18 holes, and we're headed for Guadalajara the next day." So, okay. Whatever you say, Bill. He says, "I got a wake-up call coming in at 5 o'clock, so," he says, "I'll call you at 5:30. So at 12:30, I get a phone call, and he said, "Let's go." And I said, "Bill, it's 12:30 at night." "What?" "Well, they just called me. They said it was 5 o'clock. He says, "I'm dressed and ready to go." So anyway, he went back to bed. 5:30, he calls me back. He said, "Okay, great." We get in the car, and we're headed cross country in Mexico, and we go through a toll booth, and so it's 60 miles. We figure an hour's drive. We get to this place. It should be 6:30. They open at 7. Our key time is 7. We get there, and it's still almost dark, and there's nobody around. The place is closed. And Bill says, "Well, I don't know what's going on. There's a guy working at a green over here. Let me go check with him." He comes back and he says, "You know that toll booth we went through?" "Yeah." He said, "Well, that was a time zone change." He said, "We're an hour early here." So we sat there for an hour and a half waiting for the golf course to open. Anyway, another real quick story. I played here one time with, matter of fact, Rick played with us, and after the round, we were sitting in the grill downstairs, and Bill says, "Let's go to a movie." And he says, "Rick and Joni, go with us." And great. Hey, about that time, Frank Evelyn says, "Hey, have you seen Casino?" "No." He said, "It's a great movie." He said, "You ought to see it." So we talked about it. I said, "Okay, let's go to that." He says, "You might see me there." We didn't know he was in the movie doing a cameo. Anyway, just a couple of great stories, and it's a real honor to have known Bill. What a great person. He was like a brother to me. We just stayed in touch after all these years. I worked with him for about 10 years at Cornett, and it was just the best days of our lives. So,
Thank you.
Jan and Charlie and the family, you won't ever forget C.W. Johnson.
Don't worry, I'm not going to speak again. Is there anybody else who wants to say anything?
No.
I see a hand. Also, just so you all know, there is food over there. Please eat it. to pay for them. Jerry DiTullio, I've been a member here for 38 years. And no stories I'm going to tell you because I think you've heard enough. Great stories. But I have to say that knowing CW, he made North Ranch Country Club and all the members have a great time. We loved him being around here. He made it fun for all of us, and we'll never forget him for that, and we love him very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Clint Airy, and had the honor of opening North Ranch Country Club. This is back in the 70s. I'm 88 years old. But I'm not sure exactly what year it was that CW came on the scene, but I remember that when when CW came on the scene, it was like someone from heaven, because CW took over. CW made sure that the tournaments went on. He was friendly with everybody. We didn't even have a clubhouse. We had a tennis shop down here. And the one thing that I remember most about CW is that we had the best scorecards in the business. I swear, it was art. It was something you would see on the tour, and he was very proud of that, and so were we, of course. And in fact, when we built the first building here, we put a special area down there so he could display his cards, or his score sheets. I also remember that when we started the Southwestern, the CW and Randy Lyon were the chairman, and they came up with the best tournament. It turned out to be one of the finest tournaments that you ever saw in your life. And CW came one day and said, look, we want to do the NCAA. Okay, let's do the NCAA, which is absolutely one of the largest tournaments in college. And we established a budget. And of course, CW does nothing second class. And when we finished up, we had about a $60,000 deficit, which was presented to me, which I presented to Prudential Insurance Company, which they took care of course. But every club looks for a C.W. Johnson because he is the live wire. He's the one that runs the tournaments. He's the one that everybody knows, that he's friendly with, that makes the engine go. And I am so proud to think that CW was here, came here during my term, and I know we always say we will never forget someone, but I will never forget C.W. Johnson. And thank you so much for the family, for joining North Ranch, being part of it at the very beginning. Thank you so much.
Well, on behalf of my mother and I, family, siblings, thank you all very much for attending, spending your time with us here to share your stories about a great man, my father. We appreciate it very much. In a second here, I'm going to play a video, basically has music and pictures of C-Dub. Please feel free to eat some food, have some cocktails. This is a celebration. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.